providing unconditional love and care in the classroom, with your host, Dr. B. Glenn Wilkerson.
Unconditional love is not an emotion. It's not soft or sentimental or romantic. Unconditional love involves making a conscious decision to value someone for who he is rather than for what he does. In order to feel esteemed as a human being, every person has a desperate need for that kind of love. Students are no exception, and for many of them, a teacher, a coach, or a counselor may offer their best hope for receiving the unconditional love that will bring a sense of joy and hope to their lives. Relationships are an important element in education. If you think back and picture the teacher that had the greatest impact upon your life, it's almost always a teacher that you believed cared for you. He or she may have been extremely demanding, but because that teacher believed in you and made you feel special, you worked hard for that teacher. A former superintendent of one of the largest school districts in the state of Texas says, "If we want students to be successful, we must first help them to feel significant." Another superintendent says, "If we want the test scores to go up, helping teachers to relate to their students is as important as helping them to teach the curriculum. Kids learn best from teachers who care about them." One of the most important things that we can do as teachers is to develop a nurturing classroom environment that allows students to feel valued. Most teachers are well equipped to teach their subject matter. Equally important, however, are the methods we use in our teaching. How can teachers go about building relationships with students that make them receptive to learning? A critical challenge for a nurturing teacher is learning how to convey unconditional care and love toward all students, even when the kids are going through stages where they aren't particularly lovable. School districts across the nation are experiencing a horrific dropout problem. One reason is that many students feel anonymous at their campus. None of the adults know who they are. It is important that teachers learn their students' names as soon as possible and that they call those students by name in the hallways and in the classroom. Instead of feeling invisible, kids will feel valued. Another primary way of showing regard for a student is to put it into words. Nothing makes a person feel more significant than to hear somebody say, "I care about you." Students need to be told that somebody cares for them. And it's surprising how many kids don't hear those words at home. A middle school teacher shares this story. She says, "I've always ended my class on Fridays by saying to the students as they prepared to leave, 'Goodbye, I love you, have a nice weekend.' One particular Friday, I was having a really bad day and was feeling frazzled. When the dismissal bell rang, I just put my head down on my desk and I didn't say a word. The students all got up to leave, but they stopped inside the door. Finally, one of them said to me, 'Miss Wright, aren't you going to tell us goodbye? I love you, have a nice weekend?' This teacher said, 'Until that moment, I had not realized how important my words of affirmation were to them.' Older kids likewise need to hear that we care for them. However, in order that the words not ring hollow, we must also initiate behaviors that convey unconditional love to students. In fact, when it comes to showing that we care, actions are even more important than words. Here's some behaviors that exhibit unconditional love. Physical touch. One powerful way of conveying unconditional love is through an appropriate physical touch. Children have an incredible need for the affirming touch of caring adults. Studies of infants in orphanages reveal that untouched children become emotionally and physically stunted and may even die. It's called the failure to thrive syndrome. A loving, caring physical touch confirms a child's sense of being valued and is essential to a child's physical and emotional health. In our society today, physical touching has come under close scrutiny, especially at school. While care must be exercised so that the intent of the physical contact is not misinterpreted or misunderstood, teachers can convey their approval and affection for a child in a variety of appropriate ways. A pat on the back, a touch on the shoulder, shaking hands, or a fist bump. A high school counselor says, "When I was teaching, I'd hold my hand out so that a student could give me 5. That way, the student could initiate the physical contact if he chose to do so." Whatever form of touch a teacher employs to display care to children, it should be shared with all the children and not with just a few favorite students. Eye contact. Eye contact is also an important element in the giving of unconditional love. Adults who love one another intuitively know the importance of eye contact in conveying feelings of love. And what's true for adults is vastly compounded in the needs of a child. One teacher reports, "I'm an expert at grading papers and carrying on a conversation with a student. When I'm smart enough to lay my papers aside and turn and give the student my eyes, it's almost as if something electric charges through her body." Giving our eyes to our students when we talk with them is an important way of letting kids know that they are important and that what they say matters to us. Focused attention. Another technique for showing care to students is focused attention. Focused attention is full, undivided attention, the sort of focus that allows the student to feel significant. A teacher shared this comment, "I stand at the door before each class and greet every child by smiling, looking them in the eye, and calling them by name when they enter my room. It seems to make a big difference in terms of their having a positive attitude while they're in my classroom." Another teacher says that he tries to find out when students are participating in some school event and then shows up to encourage and support them. He says, "When I take the time to attend an event, even when several of my students are participating in that event, each kid feels like I am there especially for him or her." Giving them that attention goes a long way in getting those students to support me and my efforts in the classroom. Teachers report that when they are able to give even a few moments of focused attention to students, the social, emotional climate of their classroom dramatically improves. Active listening. Active listening is another means of helping students know that they are valued. Active listening means listening to another person without criticism or judgment. It focuses on feelings rather than facts and affirms the worth of the speaker regardless of his behavior. Active listening makes a student feel that her teacher is not just trying to understand the words, the teacher is also trying to understand the feelings behind those words. It's a deeper form of listening and it makes a student feel valued. An active listener will give the student good eye contact, pay careful attention to the student's verbal and nonverbal messages, repeat or reflect the student's message back to the child, and do so in a manner that indicates warmth and concern. A teacher who is skilled in the art of active listening will even rephrase the student's message as they repeat it back, using different words, thereby ensuring that the child really feels that she has been heard. For example, if the student says, "I hate going to algebra class," a good active listener might reflect back, "You'd rather not go to algebra class? Say a little bit more about that." Active, reflective listening helps a student to feel that his thoughts and feelings are really being heard. A favorite tactic of a great active listener is to encourage an agitated student to describe his feelings and to explain why he feels the way he does. The teacher doesn't have to agree with the feeling. He just needs to allow the student to express it, because feelings that are verbally expressed have a tendency to lose their intensity and to go away. Active listening can help a student to feel that even his nonverbal language is being heard and understood. Suppose a high school kid is angry and disruptive and has to be taken outside the classroom to calm down. Rather than shaking a finger in the student's face and telling him, "You ought not to get angry like that," a teacher who is good at active listening can simply reflect back the feelings he saw expressed in the student's behavior and say something like, "You're angry, aren't you? What's that about?" And then encourage the student to verbalize the feeling. In validating the feeling, a teacher validates the child and shows unconditional love. Empathy. Another effective expression of unconditional love is the gift of empathy. Empathy is different from sympathy. Sympathy means feeling for another person. Empathy means feeling with the other person. It allows us to enter that person's world with a sense of understanding and compassion. A sympathetic teacher may feel badly about a student who is poor, wears old patched clothing, and who seems alienated from his fellow students. A sympathetic response upon the part of that teacher might be to tell a co-teacher, "I feel so sorry for that kid. He doesn't stand much of a chance of making anything of himself." An empathetic teacher's reaction to that child will be different. The empathetic teacher will dig into the child's background and try to understand why the child feels as he does. He'll discover that the kid comes from a fatherless family, that the mother works 2 jobs trying to keep a roof over the family's head, and that the child is basically raising himself and his 2 younger siblings. The teacher will tell the student, "You know, after learning a little about your circumstances and listening to you, I can understand why you feel embarrassed and distant from other people. I want you to know that I admire you tremendously and that I am always here for you if you want to talk." A student blessed with an empathetic teacher will feel that the teacher truly cares for him and will feel an attachment to the teacher and to the school. Some of the many ways teachers can provide unconditional love and care to students include: tell the student, "I care about you." Learn how to touch in an appropriate, nurturing manner. Establish good eye contact when talking with the student. Give the student your undivided attention. Actively listen to the student. Extend empathy to the student and affirm the validity of the student's feelings. Giving unconditional love requires intentionality, commitment, and hard work. However, there's a tremendous payoff. Not only will students be encouraged to behave and to excel in the classroom, even more importantly, they will feel valued and will learn to value themselves. Here are some things to think about in providing unconditional love and care in the classroom. Learn your students' names and call them by name in the hallways and in the classroom. Tell the student, "I care about you." And remember that when giving unconditional love, actions speak louder than words. We show students that we care through an appropriate physical touch. Establish good eye contact when talking with the student. Make the student feel special and important by giving her some focused attention. Actively listen to the student without criticism or judgment. Extend empathy to the student by validating his feelings and accepting the child's feelings. You accept the child.